This is Leave Your Mark. I'm Vince Cortese, and today's guest is Ellen Paul. She is an author of more than a dozen novels. As a freelance journalist, she has written most often for the New York Times Magazine and the Times Arts and Leisure section. Ellen grew up in Long Island, New York, and went to college at UC Santa Barbara, and she currently resides in New York City. Ellen, thank you for being my guest here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted.
Hi there, and welcome. Now it's time for America's favorite podcast, Leave Your Mark, with your host, Vince Cortese.
If it's fly, loose fitted, it's Cortez. If freezing, chubbers in it, it's Cortez.
Leave Your Mark is about inspiring the world, one guest at a time.
Pass the word from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh, from urban to suburb, it's Cortez, you heard?
And here is our host, Vince Cortese.
Well, yours is an interesting story from the standpoint that you, at a very young age, experienced quite a bit of trauma. And at age 7, it's kind of difficult to comprehend what it was you went through, but we're going to give you the opportunity to share as best as you can today. So what I'd like to start with is where you started life out in Rosslyn, New Jersey.
Rosslyn, New York.
Oh, Rosslyn, New York. I'm sorry, New Jersey. Shame on me. So your parents, David, you said that he was an inventor and a scientist, and Mother Josephine was a commercial artist and a painter. You had 2 siblings, Steffi and Billy, and your childhood experience was traumatic. Your mother passed when you were 7. Can you share with me what your childhood was like in the household with the 3 of you?
Well, I didn't understand that she was going to die at all. I think, as she got more ill and lost her energy, I was kind of angry, like, why doesn't she have time to play with me? I just didn't get it. Obviously, my father was overwhelmed because he had 3 kids to take care of, and he was not really that kind of person. So when he told me that she had died, there was a phone call. He called me into his study. He said, "Your mother is dead." And I was thunderstruck. And I thought it was my fault, which a lot of children do.
It's hard for someone that age to really comprehend, especially if you weren't being filled in. It's like, if that wasn't your father's nature to provide that kind of information for you, I couldn't even imagine how shocking that was.
Oh, yes.
Now, you said that you knew instinctively that something was wrong with her.
Well, I could see that she was going to bed more often. She was absent a lot. She had to go to the hospital, get transfusions, but nobody said, this is a lethal illness. She will be dying. And in fact, a playmate told me, your mother's going to die. And I remember that very well, saying, she's not. And then she did. So yeah, it was very traumatic. Yeah. I actually thought the family was going to split up right away. I ran to my room, sat alone, and thought, wow, it's like the main act in the circus is no more there. So there's nobody to keep us together. And how am I going to live on my own? I don't have any money. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you referenced that your sister stepped in and began to behave like mom, and she's probably still a child herself. So
she was 16, but yeah, she was traumatized too. At least she knew what was going on, I think.
Now, how did the 3 of you children bond? I mean, because you all are experiencing the same loss. Do you become closer with your sister and brother, or?
Well, certainly my sister. She was like an older sister. She was not mean. Well, yeah, they were mean to me. They would make bets on whether I was going to school or not, my brother and sister, because I was absent so often, whining about what's wrong with me. And so, my brother teased me mercilessly. He was 6 years older. So he was really traumatized himself. He was 13. He had been her favorite. And he really couldn't step in. But my sister did. And God, she wasn't a maternal sort. But she saved my life. That very night she came down and said, "Don't worry, we're all going to stay together. You know, you can use my phone if you want to call your friends and tell them. It was a miracle. And she was that way all her life. And she was nuts. For me, I could call her at 2 a.m. crying, and she was always there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you said also then shortly thereafter, your father got remarried. So how long after your mom died was shortly, when you're young, time kind of goes by?
6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, they dated earlier.
okay. How are you and your siblings managing another person being around?
Very badly, very reluctantly, and with I think for all of us, we moved from this very modest house in a development for sold, World War II GIs who had finished the war and needed a new place to live. And so that was my first home, and it was very modest. And then my stepmother, who, for better or for worse, had great ambitions to rise in the social world, realized my father had a lot of money, and he bought a mansion. I mean, really, not quite a mansion, but certainly the biggest house around where we lived, on a big top of a hill, very fancy decorations. They started collecting American art and had a major collection by the time my father died. So it was really different. My mother was never mentioned, never. There was no picture of her. It was like she'd never existed.
Now, how old were you when your father passed away then?
Old. He lived to be 90. He had to go through 8 years of Alzheimer's, which for a brilliant man was a nightmare.
All right, so let's jump back then. So now you're approaching teen years and you're going to high school, and you were already involved in the reading and writing and interested in the guitar. So how are you managing at this tender teen years of moving forward with life?
I think that I was a storyteller from the time I was, certainly 7 after my mother died. I lived in my imagination. That was my refuge, and books. I read very early, and I'm still my refuge, and books are still my greatest pleasure in life. So that didn't change a whole lot. I was 12 when I started falling in love with first John Keats and then John Donne. I wanted to be a poet, which thankfully I didn't do, but that was what sustained me.
Now you get on with high school, and you go to UC Santa Barbara as a double major in English and French, and you have a published novel at the age of 22. So that writing is now taking root. Like, we see a direction your life is going to go after this childhood tragedy. So share with me the inspiration on that book and the title of it.
My father picked me up from college when I'd come home to visit one day. And on the way home, he said, "So what are you going to do for a living?" And I thought, a living? What? I've never connected education with making money. So I said, "I want to be a writer." Like, how's that? And he very generously said, "Okay, I will support you for 6 months. You have to get a part-time job, but I'll cover the rest. And you see if you can publish a book." In 6 months. And I did. Because I chose a genre novel, and I read a bunch of them, and I learned how to do them. And they were all right. They were funny. They were Georgette Heyer books. She was the only one who wrote Regency novels at that time. And they were quite delightful. So I wrote, I copied that and made up my own little plot. And then my high school date at the junior prom had become an agent, and his friend in college had become an editor, and we were probably all under 23 by the time the book came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting times, though. I mean, because this is definitely a turning point in what you had gone through in your youth, and you're set free. You're on your own, you're educated, and it's time to get on with your own career.
Yeah.
Now, you Regency romances, you wrote 9 of them. And so during that time of writing the romances, you are going through and you get married at the age of 32.
Well, I had actually stopped writing them before that. I think I
Okay.
stopped writing them when I was about 28, and then I wrote my first book under my own name.
Okay, so then
yeah.
those previous novels were under a different name.
They sure were. And the reason they were under Fiona Hill, and the reason I chose to have a pseudonym was I thought I was going to write only one of them. And then my father would say, well done. Okay, I will continue to support you, which he could afford to do. And he was very generous. But instead he said, great, you're on your way. That was that. So, you know, I had no way to earn a living except to keep writing more Regencies.
Connect with us on LinkedIn. Be our friend on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Whether jumping out the MP or jumping on the app.
You are listening to Vince Cortese. We just want you to leave your mark.
Oh, this is excellent. So one thing begets another here. So when does your husband show up?
Oh, we didn't meet till I was 30. Trying to do the math. I was born in 52. We married in 86. So I guess I was 34.
Okay.
I can't do math.
That's okay.
But a long time later.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in your early 30s. Now, so you're married and you decide that you're going to adopt a child. How does that come to pass with your husband? And that doesn't happen immediately. That's what, like 5 or 6 years after you're married. So what was the process there, and what made you then, between the two of you, decide to adopt?
Well, I actually didn't know if I wanted a baby. I had never been particularly interested or good with babies. And, but my sister died. She was 45. I was in my, I guess, early 30s. And I realized, like, she didn't have kids. And I wanted to leave some kind of tendril, is how I thought of it, behind. I didn't want to just die. And so we started trying to have a baby. That didn't work. Then we started deciding if we wanted to adopt. We spent a year with an adoption counselor figuring this out. And then we started looking for a kid and, you know, a couple who needed adoptive parents. And that didn't take as long as you would think, but it took a while. And then we met them before he was born.
Okay.
And their decision whether to, you know, they thought we would be good parents. So, so there was yet more time while he gestated to ready to be born. And then he was ready to be born, and he was born. And we, for better or for worse, we picked him up at the hospital when he was 36 hours.
Wow.
And, yeah.
So now you're a new mom and relatively newly married. And how does life begin to unfold from here?
Well, first I was completely in love. It was the first time I'd ever been in love with someone, and no one was saying, are you sure? I think you should take it slow. You know, he may not be the guy for you, which is what people do when you're, you know, your friends do when you fall in love suddenly. But I was just, there's a word for it, but I was infatuated. I was so thrilled, and it was so natural to me, which surprised me because my mother died when I was 7 and got sick when I was 5. And how much could I remember of this? Well, a lot turned out. It was very natural. And I just, you know, I remember like looking in his eyes, smushing his tummy, making him laugh, singing songs. Like, we had a great time.
Was he an inspiration for any of your writing?
I can't say that. I mean, for one thing, he was dyslexic. So reading came very hard to him. And we didn't understand this until quite late, which was very unfortunate because he was alone with it. A smart child who's dyslexic can pretend he's not for a long time. They copy their, you know, they take cues from the other people in the class and so on. So we got, and for years I felt very guilty about that, but I finally realized, like, I didn't know anything about dyslexia, and it was his teachers who should have known. Anyway, what did you ask me? I've come a long way.
No, that's okay. So let's go now. He's growing up and he hits his teen years.
Right.
And he has a little bit of issues with his learning. And you found out about that in a roundabout way. So what happens when he's in his teen years?
Well, he's still struggling to catch up in terms of the reading. And by now it's like he's been left behind. And my husband and I talked about it. It's like all the other students could read and they were floating ahead and, on the sea happily. And he was like way in behind, watching them all go away. So he was traumatized by that long before he turned 15. But at 15, so stupid. He actually called us one night. This was his first night of high school. And he said, guess what I did tonight? I smoked pot. And it was like that. He just was very honest by nature. And we, sat him down later and said, look, you're going to run into this and people do this, but just don't ever be the person who brings the pot to the party. And then 6 weeks later, we realized, what are we saying? And we sat him down and said, never mind that. Never do this again. Never. And, I think addicts and alcoholics are compelled. Once they get a taste of it, 15 or pot or whatever, they can't stop. And he was a person who was vulnerable to addiction to marijuana. And some people believe there are no such people. Well, I'm here to tell you, there sure are. It was a terrible plague. I mean, we once went to LA where he had moved to see him because he was in bad shape, and we found him skeletal. You can't eat when you get to a certain point. You just throw up. And you can't stop smoking, but you never get high.
Yeah, the body, I believe, gets an immunity to it, if I understand.
Oh, interesting.
Correctly.
I never really knew that. Yeah.
I think you build up it's like a tolerance where.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay, so, how old is he now? I mean, at 15, so he goes through all of high school having this drug and alcohol addiction. And I mean, how is this also affecting you in your career moving forward?
Well, actually, what happened is he went through all of ninth grade. We tried to get him all the learning help we could, but he was now he was drinking alcohol because his friends were drinking alcohol. And he got to the last 2 days within finishing his ninth grade. And I don't even want to tell you, he did a very silly thing that made his school kind of compelled to, kick him out. And so he never graduated from ninth grade, because
Oh, wow.
his last 2 days. So we sent him to a wilderness program, which is probably people know, but you separate the child from everything that's familiar, all the people they ever used with. You put them in wilderness, where they have to learn a lot of skills they don't have. And they are constantly accompanied by a counselor and other kids who are in this boat. And then once a week, they see a psychiatrist who specializes in this.
Now, all of this is still going on before he makes his way to Los Angeles. This is still in New York?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Okay.
He was only, I think he was 15 when we sent him to wilderness. And it was one of the most horrible days of my life, because you have to let some people people you don't know, carry your kid to a place you've never been and entrust them with your child.
Now, how is this affecting your marriage?
Wasn't great. I mean, we actually, in a way, we came together. My husband has a very, very difficult job. He does very important work. I mean, I'm really proud of him, but it was very absorbing. He was determined to make his mark, and he still is. And I was left alone. I think he would not argue with that. I was left alone to take care of our son, really almost the whole time.
You know, what's interesting, how much does this feel like the role that your sister played with you at this point is similar, where she mothered you and she kind of was coddling you while your brother was not really being that nice? And here
Well,
you
interesting.
are.
I mean, but I didn't expect my brother to take care of me.
No,
I
but
had,
maybe
yeah,
be a bit more friendly. But he's
yeah,
a teenager, 13. It's not a good time for young
right,
boys.
yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
really,
yeah, but I did not expect to be literally left alone with the baby because he traveled a lot. He has an international job, and my child was a baby when off he went, and that was very hard for me.
were you having an opportunity to do any writing at that point?
Well, I had backed off on the journalism when my son was like 3 because I realized I am spending an awful lot of time out of the house, but yet I made a point of getting a kid. Why am I doing this? So then I started writing mysteries because they have a much longer deadline and you can work at home. Um, and I wrote 2 of those. Trying to think, 2011 and 2000 when 9/11 happened.
Hmm.
I was writing the third of a 3-book mystery contract, and I just couldn't write it because it was set in New York. It was kind of brutal, witty, not a dark kind of mystery, but um, a smart kind of mystery, a fun kind. And death was not fun anymore in New York City. And I actually wrote an article about this for the Times. Many mystery writers who had characters who lived in, recurring characters who lived in New York had to find something else to do. Some of them sent them out of town. Some of them did a prequel, but it was difficult. And I just gave up. That book became darker and darker and darker until I knew there was no way the house would publish it or could.
Wow.
So,
Now, at what point then, so your son's out of his teen years,
right.
and it's time for him to develop a career. How does life unfold at that point?
Yeah, I should add that he went from the outdoor program, the wilderness program, directly to a therapeutic boarding school, and he spent 19 months there. Of course, he was sober. They were, very vigilant about that, and he made his way through that. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but then he started to do better and better. His learning problems continued to be a problem. It took me a long time to convince those people that if a kid is dyslexic, they have to find special help. You can see how angry I still am. I finally got a tutor for him that the school eventually made permanent because they finally got the message. But the first time I told his counselor there that he was dyslexic, he said, well, we don't like to label kids. And I was like ready to choke him. Anyway, he got through that school. He was sober for a while. And then he decided I can drink beer. So I'll just have a beer a week. And then that was the beginning of the end of that sobriety.
If you are listening from Australia, Florida, or just from around the corner,
From East Coast to West Coast outlets, if you're not into the dirty South straight, make a left and body.
contact us. Leave your mark with your host, Vince Cortese.
And there was other breaks, but did you ask me how I got back to my writing?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
does it did
how I
you work your
stopped,
way
yeah.
back in? And then at what point when you realize he's using and you're trying to find answers then that the Alcohol Anonymous or the Al-Anon types of opportunities are there for you to begin using? Like, how does that begin to
Well,
happen?
unfortunately, I did not know about that until after he was sober. He's been sober for 6 years now. And when he got sober, I said something about addiction on the phone. We still talk every day. He's still in LA. And I said something about addiction. He said, you don't understand addiction. You have to go to Al-Anon. And I went to Al-Anon because he told me to. And this is 5 years ago. In this second meeting, I learned that actually this was not about me learning about addiction. It was about me recovering my life after all the time that I had not been able to write. I could hope to write again. I had given up completely after all that time. Everybody I knew had been fired or retired or died. And, there's no way I was going to be able to sell a book again, never mind if I could write anymore. But after the 4th meeting of Al-Anon, I walked home 4-block walk. I thought, I could try to sell a book. I could fail. I could try.
What was going on in those meetings that was sparking this?
Glad you asked. What goes on in an Al-Anon meeting is basically people share their experience, strength, and hope. And that gives hope to other people who have come in hopeless. And that's the basis of it. And that's really why I want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about my own problems. I want to talk about the incredible healing that people, I'm going to cry, receive in Al-Anon. Unbelievable. And not that many people know about it. Everyone knows about AA. I don't know how many people know about Al-Anon. There are 24,000 chapters worldwide. And yet I have to explain what it is to a lot of people. And it's a fellowship. It's not a club or a cult or anything like that. It's just a group of people who gather together to share what is very difficult to share with public people, because nobody wants to say, Mike, how's your kid doing? Well, he's an addict. Nobody wants to say that. So you lie. And, people keep it secret. And actually in Al-Anon, they say we're only as sick as our secrets. And there's a lot of truth to that. So, and that is why I'm here today. I want to share that there is this incredibly healing program open to anyone. It's not scary. It's not difficult. It's loving. It's gentle. It's just, and I'm not alone. I cannot say enough about it. It has given me back my life and other people as well that I know. So,
with your son suggesting that you needed to go see that because you were referencing addiction, what were you expecting was going to happen?
He was sober by then, and when he said you have to go to Al-Anon, I thought, oh, fine, I'll be a good mother. I was actually in treatment for breast cancer at the time, which thankfully is over. But I thought, okay, as soon as I'm done with the treatment, I will go to an Al-Anon meeting and I will learn more about addiction. And as I said, 2 meetings in, I realized this is not about my learning about addiction for him. It's my literally recovery. Al-Anon, AA has a recovery program. Al-Anon is a recovery program. You get back all the years that your life was destroyed by your parents or your spouse or your kids.
Yeah, your social environment.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. So in the Al-Anon treatment now, how would you like to expand on both how you came out of this Al-Anon experience and then began writing again?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't call it a treatment. It's just, a program is the most people call it. There are books, there are, steps like the AA steps. Not everybody does them. There are a million slogans and adages that are really wise. A lot of them are funny. So I never came out of it. I was at an Al-Anon meeting last night. I'm chairing one tomorrow. Most people don't leave. Who would want to? It's just, I don't even know if anybody does. So the people have been 20 years, 30 years. And because once you learn, you want to give. And that's the point I'm at, thank God. So there was another part to your question.
How you began writing again.
Oh, yeah. So as I said, the 4th meeting, somebody mentioned hope, that they had hope, excuse me, for their own life, even though they were having problems with their alcoholic father. And I thought, hope. Oh, hope. I remember that. That was fun. Yeah, you didn't always get what you wanted, but if you live in hope, it's kind of neat. And then I walked home and thought I could hope to sell another book. And I would fail maybe, but I could hope. If I don't try, it's definitely not going to succeed. And literally when I got home, I had been writing something for my own amusement. And I thought, oh, I know how to turn this into a saleable book. And I sat down and I wrote my notes. And I started the next day. I don't think everybody goes home from their 4th Al-Anon meeting. in that state, but I sure did.
Now, so you experienced an Al-Anon, a healing that needed to take place since you were a child at age 7, most likely.
Yeah.
So you are popped open as far as what the possibilities life can hold for you moving forward. You realize that that doesn't have to define you, that can help cultivate who you've become. And so share with me what the Al-Anon experience has created in you then, besides the healing and the wanting to stay there. What do you feel was the biggest growth that you experienced in that, besides just feeling good and healing?
Well, obviously being able to write again, and also having the stick-to-itiveness to keep trying to sell it, which took a long time because I had hope. And I knew if I didn't try, same story. And I didn't take things personally. I knew I could write. I'd written books before. It was all the many rejections I got. Everybody said, "Oh, it's wonderfully written, but it'd be so hard to sell," basically.
It gave you the opportunity
to heal from, yeah. So now I think of myself as having survived this, not crushed by it, not, never had a happy childhood. I don't think about that.
That was some very difficult work you went through, to realize that you needed to heal, and that entire time you raised that child and you still needed to heal, and you wouldn't find out until through that child, and he's an adult.
Exactly.
It's amazing how life teaches. We think sometimes we get it on the front end and we're backloaded.
Yeah.
And so this is a fantastic story.
If you have a story to share, tell us. How are you going to leave your mark? Contact us. Leave your mark with our host, Vince Cortese. Be our guest.
Now, you did touch on saying you had cancer. Can you share with me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was super lucky. I went for a routine check. I actually went a month early, and when I got there, the person said, "Your appointment is next month." And I said, "Oh, hell, well, since I'm here, could you just do it today?" And she said, "Oh, fine." And I had a teeny tiny, very aggressive kind of cancer that my radiologist, who was superb, picked up. And later the surgeon told me, "She saved your life. Not many people would have noticed that." And so I had biopsy. It was, malignant. And luckily I needed only a lumpectomy. It hadn't spread. And I did radiation, no chemo. So,
wow.
How
long ago was that?
That was 5 years.
Yeah, that's always the cancer is one of those things that just kind of play with your mind.
Oh, that was such a turning point, because up until then, as I mentioned, I had been clinically depressed so many times and, near suicidal, I knew I wasn't going to do it, but I wished. And suddenly when I got the cancer, after crying and trembling and hugging my husband memorably, I said, "Damn it, you're not going to kill me. Are you kidding?" I will not use a curse word, but the heck with you, cancer. No. Suddenly I was like this person who clung to life, who was determined to fight, instead of this miserable person thinking, "Oh, well, if I die, fine." So, and then once I was done with the treatment, I became the happiest I had ever been.
Wow.
Not just because
So you're having a really nice, happy ending to what was just a life of just total chaos.
Very much so. And entirely thanks to Al-Anon. Entirely. 100%.
You've led me to the fork in the road now.
Yeah.
Ellen, how would you like to leave your mark?
Well, I've thought about this, and certainly I would like to let people know about Al-Anon. There are so many people suffering who don't know about it, whose lives are being devastated, and some of them live far away from Al-Anon meetings. Now there are Zoom ones, which is a blessing, although they're not the same as in person. But anybody can go. You can go around the world, So I just want people to know there's hope. And that's really what I'd like to do.
It's a beautiful thing. To spread hope and good joy and that you have it inside of you. I mean, that voice that was running you down and ragged, and maybe the voice that took you to cancer, snapped you right out of it when you changed the dialogue of it. So an enormous testimony of what you'd gone through, like basically your entire life, to be where you stand now is an amazing feat. So I commend you for that. I thank you for coming on and sharing this. This is just an amazing story.
This is why I wanted to come on.
You're much stronger than you know. I'll tell you
well,
that.
I used to call myself
much stronger than you know. So
when my son needed help, I used to call myself the world's most reluctant, strong person, because I had not been strong, but I had to take care of him.
Out of curiosity, would you call yourself a reluctant, strong person now?
No,
it's become
second nature to me. I do everything I can to help other people. Like new people come into Al-Anon meetings, and I say to them, now we chat on Zoom, I'm so glad you came in. I've been where you are. Many people have found help in this healing program. Don't feel embarrassed because you cried. Most people cry the first time they share. And, the opportunity, I'm sorry, crying again. It's just very moving to be able to help other people to what you've experienced. And it gives you a lot of joy, and it reminds you how you got here.
There's strength in the tears, so don't worry about that.
Thank you.
That's the beginning. That's the beginning of the fight going the other direction.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your understanding.
I totally understand. Well, Ellen, we need to look for your new book, Must Read Well. And would you share with the audience where we can find your book so we can go out there and make some purchases, and any other social media that you would like to bring our attention to?
This is the book.
Okay.
I like the cover a lot. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, as an Apple book to read on your iPad, through bookshop.org, which is way of ordering from small stores. I have a website, ellenpaul.com. All the reviews the book has gotten are on that, as well as information and reviews of previous books, which are many, and articles that I wrote for the Times and the New Yorker. And I'm on Facebook. Perfectly Public, look me up.
Okay. And it's P-A-L-L.
It is
just
P-A-L-L.
in case we don't want them to misspell your last name.
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful. It's always good to hear a happy ending, Ellen. Always good.
I gotta tell you,
never gets old.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will be in touch.
Okay. Love it.
Thanks for listening to Leave Your Mark today. Tune into our next episode of Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese. Be blessed.
You just left your mark. Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes on demand. Just click Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese.